Breaking news! Local Maniac has a brand new toy. Let's go live to the scene. Well, he's having fun and that's all that matters. So let's get back to the 1.4.4 big update. This update is absolutely huge and nobody wants to read all of this text, so that's why you're here, and we're going to cover each and everything as quick as possible with some in-game footage. As for anything that we've covered in previous update videos that was leading up to this update, we'll cover them with just like jot notes because we've already covered it in the past. So first up we have cross-character sharing. It is now in the game and it's going to be slowly rolling out all the way until the 28th. Again, this is something we've gone over in the past on a previous update video, and really nothing's changed on that. Now, probably the biggest thing in this update that is going to make your life way easier, and they didn't even put it in the patch notes, inside your gameplay settings, under control, at the very bottom here, there is auto take. It is default set to off. If you switch it to yes, it's the thing that the mobile version has where if you just go near an enemy's loot, it will automatically pick it up. You just run by it and it's just amazing. This is going to change your life. Now, the really crazy thing about this setting is that if you're on a vehicle, it will also pick up the item. So you don't even have to get out of your vehicle to pick up loot on the ground. Next up, the furniture dye system has been added. So you just need to go into Memetic's Cradle, go to your Memetics, and then on the far right tab for building, you have the designer's workstation here. Once you unlock this, you can then go to the designer's workstation and hit H for furniture dye, and then any of the formulas that you have already collected that have the ability to be dyed, they'll all be in here. And what you do is you can click on the view portion, and then you select the different zones on it. Depending on the object, they have different zones, like this one here only has one zone, but then you can choose your different types of dyes for it. And then depending on the color you're choosing, you'll have different material costs, which most of them are obtainable by growing things. The Stardust dye can be obtained from events, so like the Spectral Hunt event here in the shop for 75 of the rubies, you can get Stardust dye. You can also get it by going to your scenario challenge shop, and then under other, there is Stardust dye in here for Mitsuko marks. Next up, we have puzzle-themed building components, so you can build an escape room. So if you just go to your world map here, down at the very bottom, there's Deadsville. Once you're in Deadsville here, we're looking for Weber. He's the marketplace guy here, so he has 3 new recipes for the passcode lock, the clue log, and the reward crate. Each one is 1,000 energy links, and once you purchase those and learn them, you can start making your escape rooms. And just so that you're aware, whenever you purchase these, unlike most formulas in the past, they will actually auto-learn them. And they're actually put into different categories. So the reward crate is in your storage facility, whereas the passcode lock is in structures attachments. So it's like an attachment for a door. And the clue log is actually in furniture home entertainment. So hopefully this helps you figure out where those are, because it took me a while to figure it out. I've gone ahead and made a little escape room, so you can see the keypad can be added to the door, and I've set a password to it. When you're the owner, though, it seems like you don't really get to play the game. So like I can set the password, I can generate an access card, which allows you to just, I guess, open the door naturally. But because I'm the owner, I'm able to just open it normally anyway. Then you have the little clue log, which you can view the posts. So like I may say the password is 000 number sign. The number sign is the number of boxes in the room. As you can see, there's only one box, so it should be 0001. Now, as the owner, you can edit this message, and then this box here is where you can set rewards. So I put in a thing of fertilizer, and you can set up basically how many of each of these things can be in there, and how many are, so like how many are deposited and how many can be claimed per person. And then you see whenever you click the claim button, you get the rewards, kind of like a normal crate would be. So potentially you could put like the key card in there, or put in certain items or something like that. Now alternatively, because I didn't put electric doors on here, if it's not an electric door, you can just drive a motorcycle right through it. So yeah, can we fix that bug already? I'm sure some creative people will make some really cool escape rooms, or even just use it for things like contests and everything. Anti-type effects have now been added to the game, so now whenever you're crafting the high-end AP ammo and you scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see Stardust Ingots and control units. So this adds additional damage against deviations for suppression and additional damage against humanoids when it comes to control units. Now, just so that you're aware, we did actually test the penetration ammo as humanoids against players for PvP's sake. It did not seem to do any additional damage, so essentially all the weapons that had the impact modifier before for additional damage against metas, they essentially all just got a big nerf with this patch because they just, there's no way to get that damage back. So that includes your Anabasis, your backfire shotgun, the conflicting memories LMG, and a couple other smaller ones. Not just the ammo got this treatment, you also have any of your combat damage related tactical items, so things like grenades, molotovs. They have an additional change out here, so like at the large synthesis bench we can open this up and there's actually stacking rarities basically, so more ingots equals more stuff. So this first level is extra damage to deviants, the second level adds in being effective against super anomalies, and then this one here increases the amount of damage. So essentially you get 3 tiers to it, and then there's the same thing for the control units, and it's against humanoids. So at the highest level, you're getting quite a bit of extra damage. Now, to get these new resources, for the Stardust Ingots, you have to farm Stardust Ore. Whenever you farm Stardust Ore now, it increases the pollution in the area, because the Stardust Ore is basically suppressing pollution now. It's the new polluted area mechanics. So whenever you take the ore, you have a chance to start spawning these crazy tree deviant guys, and they essentially have the look at them mechanics. So if you're looking at them, they won't attack you, but if they catch you off guard, they will grab you, pull you into the ground, and you just get KO'd, and not much you can do about it. So be really careful about that. There is a new territory construct here, so if you go into your building, at the very bottom on the right hand side, there's Veil of Tranquility, and this can be used to essentially negate that pollution to prevent those guys from being able to spawn. There's gonna be a lot more details and testing that I'm gonna have to do with that one that I'm not gonna be able to fit into this video, but go try it out and see if that helps if you're living in that area, because a lot of people have basically been saying these guys are invulnerable to all types of damage, but they did mention in the patch notes that the Veil of Tranquility is going to help with living in those zones. So after you've acquired your Stardust Ore, you come back to your furnaces and you can create ingots out of them. It takes 60 Stardust Ore and 15 Stardust Source, so they're pretty expensive. The only mimetic that seems to be affecting them, at least on Manibus and Evolution's call servers, is the efficiency one, so it just reduces the crafting time and power consumption. There's no bonuses to the amount that you can get. That might be different on Way of Winter. Somebody on Way of Winter, let us know in the comments below. As for control units, you're able to get them at a very, very rare chance from killing high-level Rosetta soldiers, and you can also get them at a somewhat decent rate from storage crates in Rosetta bases, as well as silos that have Rosetta soldiers in them. Now, there's also supposed to be a secret hidden convoy event at Rosetta territories, and this is supposed to be able to give you a lot of control units, but I spent hours and hours and hours trying to figure out how to trigger this. I wiped out all of Whitecliff, I wiped out all of Extraction Point, multiple bases, and I tried opening all the crates. I tried just about everything I could think of, but I couldn't get it to trigger. So if you have figured out how to do this and get the convoy, let everybody know in the comments, and I will pin the first comment that figures it out after I test to make sure that it is valid. With these new resources, you can also make new tactical items. Now this, according to the notes, was supposed to be Manibus specific, but we've been able to make them in Evolution's Call as well, so not sure if that's a bug or a feature. That should be interesting. I know I'm going to have a lot of fun with the rockets. So the shield matrix you can learn under the crafting tab, go all the way to the bottom on the kind of middle left here, and then you can make them here at the large synthesis bench, and they take a whopping 80 control units and 5 batteries, so pretty expensive. So you just put it down here and it creates a giant bubble shield, kind of like from Halo, but way bigger. And it blocks damage coming from the outside. You are able to walk through it. Enemies can walk through it, but you are also able to shoot out of it. So it's going to be really useful for many, many applications. And it seems to last about 15 seconds if it's not destroyed first. The next two tactical items, you can unlock them in the crafting tab all the way at the bottom right for ultimate firepower, and you have the Mr. Wish rocket and the flamethrower. So we have the Mr. Wish's rocket launcher. It can be made at the synthesis bench here, and it takes 60 Stardust Ingots, so it's not cheap. Also 25 mixed explosives and 15 premium fuel, so probably not just going to be firing these off all the time, unless you're a crazed maniac like me, and I'm going to set up specific farms just to be able to make these. You can see that he's kind of just riding it. Don't worry, no Mr. Wishes were harmed in the making of this video. They are special beings and they can handle it. So you just fire it, and essentially you get to be able to aim it and land wherever you want. And then it does a cluster bomb. Now, one really interesting thing is that it seems to take the effect of your currently equipped weapon. So as you see, I got a bunch of frost vortexes and even an ice crystal while wearing an anabasis. So I'm not sure if that's a bug or if that's an intended feature, but I feel like there's a whole lot of shenanigans we can do with that. As you can see, it also does an absurd amount of damage. It's about 400,000 on the actual rocket hit, and another 100,000 just from the explosions from the cluster grenade. So if you're not the main target, but you're close to the main target, you're going to get hit for like around 500,000. And for the Wildfire Flamethrower, again crafted at the synthesis bench, it takes 40 Stardust Ingots, 25 premium fuel. Now this might not be as expensive as it seems, because unless this is a bug, as long as you don't use all of the ammo all at once and you unequip it and re-equip it, it goes back up to 100. So it feels like it's similar to the solar drill for mechanics, but again, I'm not sure if this is a bug or a feature. So as you can see, it's doing like 6,600 damage here, but at a distance it's doing about 3,300. So there is actually like distance modifiers. You can see that I'm actually getting weak spot hits, I'm getting some critical hits. So it has a lot of potential to put out quite a bit of damage, especially in a fairly decent AoE. And the closer you are, the more damage you're going to be doing. Next up, we have the new mimetic specialization items. So essentially, we've gone over this in the past. They're changing a lot of your stuff to have red plasma rockets, grenades, and plasma rounds. The interesting thing, though, is the way they made it sound in there was that it was going to replace the current warhead mimetics, so all the gold mimetics. But as you can see here, it's unlocking the high-powered warhead and red plasma warheads, so that solves the problem as to what happens with our regular warheads in PvP. Now, I'm not sure why, but usually the high-power warhead would say 30% bonus damage to buildings and vehicles, which it doesn't anymore. But the red plasma rocket does say that, and also has the silver plague shield damage. So, but once you actually get them in your inventory, the high-power warhead does actually still say the plus 30% to building and vehicle damage. So it was just a tooltip error. And because they were fairly cheap, I'm actually just going to test them here. So I'm going to see, here's the regular high-power warhead for damage. So 3,500. And now we're going to do the red plasma round, see if it looks different or if it does more or less damage. It does the same damage and it basically looks the exact same. So it's just going to do damage to the silver plague shields. Next up, we have the Paradox Space Public Crisis event. So this spawns in a lot of the settlements that haven't really been used yet for crisis events. And it's essentially like prop hunt, where you hit your Q ability, the spatial awareness thing, and you find these little dome areas, and inside the dome areas there's going to be an anomaly, so something that's not normally there. So if you're really, really well versed in the game and you know these places in and out, you're going to be able to spot the anomaly really quick. So the goal is to find the object and shoot it, and then you'll get this little orby thing will appear, and when you pick it up, it's going to give you an attack boost. And as you can see here, I could not find the thing in this room, and it ended up being a pencil that, because I moved my cursor over it and saw the little red dot, that's how I ended up figuring out that it was the pencil on the desk. After all 5 of them have been found in the area, you then are going to have to fight a boss So each time that we did it, we ended up getting the blob guy, so I don't know if that's always guaranteed, but it was a lot of fun, but he died super quick. So I'm hoping that they add like high-risk versions of this event where it's like actually really like a challenging boss, because it felt like we just kind of belted him. But now they've added a new event, which is under the recommended tab here. It's called Chrono Vault. So just from your past effort, you are going to get these Chrono badge things. So like they look like this little hourglass. So I got 736 just whenever I logged in. And then you can additionally get more from doing these activities and challenges. So if you go into the Chrono Vault here, you can then spend them. So it's just another shop using this stuff. So each tier seems to have a couple cosmetics and then a couple consumables. So we have the Cradle here, this Gem Symphony MG4. There's actually a car skin in here, which is pretty big news for free-to-play. Like, this is going to be the second free car skin behind the Christmas one. A formula for portable wood coffee table. So at the bottom of the third set here, there's also this 1000 Star Crom, which you can buy 2 of them. So that's 2000 Star Crom there. And then in the fourth one, you have this Sheriff set, which has a nice little eye patch. The Nightmare Shock emote. And again, some more Star Crom crates. So there's 3 of them this time, so it's another 3000. So grand total 5000 Star Crom you can get from this event. On top of that, there is a second tab here called Spacetime Oddity, which essentially we're going to get additional rewards just basically for logging in at specific times. They'll just unlock slowly over time, and then you just get this stuff. So it actually takes you to an event page where you claim it, and then it's going to send it to you. And then it allows you to share the page down here to get even more Star Crom. So, and interestingly, if you come back here, you can actually click on this and then you get all this Star Crom as well. So the participate button just takes you to this page, allows you to do the regroup for combat thing. So it's kind of like an event inside an event inside an event. I don't know. With this update, we also have the new Wish Machine prize pools. So we've got the old Huntsman, including your Savior sets, the old Huntsman boots. Then we have the Jaws Bomb, which is the Little Jaws and the Gulp Lore. And then the Bullseye Hunter with the Bingo and Wildfire. Now there is also an update to the Meta's Bounty. I'm not going to cover this because I do not agree with the Meta's Bounty. I've not made a video on this because it just makes me angry. I don't think you should ever have to pay to unlock achievements, so I'm going to skip on from this before I get mad. Next up is the removal of controllers. So we've talked about this in previous update videos, but it's now in the game, so we can show kind of how it's actually working. So first up here, if you find Severin in basically any of your camps, he now sells 4 controllers. You can get your mod crates and mod parts and a bunch of different things like whims and even like your all-purpose hand. Now the whims and stuff here are a daily limit, and then a lot of these other things are a weekly limit. So, you know, come back each week if you've got a ton of controllers and kind of take advantage of that stuff. But personally, I don't see why there's a weekly limit on like the mod crates. Like, just let us use all of our controllers. I don't want to have to deal with this over weeks and weeks and weeks. And with this change, any content that would normally give you like a crate that you would open with a controller, they now are just able to be opened. If you saved a bunch of things like the lunar boxes, they're just going to give you the max like controller rewards from the past. And like when you complete dungeons, you just get the rewards without having to spend a controller now. Next up, we have my most anticipated part of the update. It is mod conversion. So if you go into your mods menu, go to mod conversion at the top right. This is where we can essentially create mods. They've updated this whole system. I plan to make a full video on how to kind of really take advantage of this system, but just in a quick nutshell here, they've added level ranges. So when you look at a mod, based on the number of points that are put into it, so like blue is 2 points each, you know, because it went green, then blue. And there's a base point for like the white, the gray. So like you can see here, this one's gray, so that's 1 point, and then the blue would be 2, and the purple would be 3, so your grand total is 11 points. So the way that this works now, it's a heavily updated UI to give you more information on how to merge these things and make better ones. So if we go with like say these 8-point mods, if I were to just put in all 8 points, you can see on the right hand side, it's guaranteeing that we're going to get a level 9 to level 12 mod. So previously in the old system before the updates, that was not the case. You weren't guaranteed to get a better mod. So you can actually take bad mods and upgrade them slowly. So rather than just breaking them all down and getting rid of them like I used to, I can now essentially slowly grow my mods and make them better. So this is just a fantastic update because it basically means that your low-level mods are actually usable for the mod conversion now, and your high-level mods, like you can actually kind of cater this a lot more. So yeah, I'm probably going to be spending like all my time just farming perfect mods now, because you actually have like a foreseeable chance to actually upgrade your stuff. So for all of the silos on the Manibus scenario, they have added the Nightmare difficulty. Now, it will show up in the UI if you're on, say, Evolution's Call, like I am right here, but you just won't be able to enter. It'll say that you're not on the right phase, but these give you better rewards than you would get from your pro mode, and they also have a weekly bonus for your account, where the first time that you clear each one of the silos, you're going to get a loot crate that has 3 legendary mods for that area. So like this is for the top, the chest piece, and each of these mods is going to be guaranteed to have 1 epic and 2 rare attributes. That would essentially be a 11-point mod as a guarantee, 3 of them per week per silo. So that's like 18 if I did my math right. So that's huge. Like that's a really good optional weekly system being added to the game. Now, I do have a character on the Manibus server. They are not exactly built to be able to fight in Nightmare yet. These dungeons are pretty high challenge. The enemies are level 70. There's new mechanics and stuff. So like these Rosetta soldiers here, the elites, they had an impenetrable energy shield on the front of them, and the only way to like break it was to deal damage to them, so you had to kind of like get around them, deal damage, or I found throwing Molotovs so that they walk through the fire would help break it. There's going to be all kinds of new mechanics to these Nightmare modes, and the enemies are just, they're tankier, they deal more damage. So if you don't have a character on Manibus to be able to enjoy this, I would highly suggest with the way the new character system works, if you're still playing on like Way of Winter or a PvP server, at least throw an alt on one of the Manibuses, and then on Manibus server, the Nightmare silos will unlock at like phase 4 or 5. Additionally, on Manibus server specifically, there is the Prime Wars, so there's a new difficulty that they added. If you go to the areas where there used to be Nightmare difficulty, there is now a Apocalyptic difficulty. I've seen some posts from other players that it is very difficult, so I can't really show it off to you because this character doesn't have enough currency to go and start that Prime War. I'm not usually a PvEer, so I'm going to be experiencing a lot of these Prime War things for the first time. Vehicles have had an overhaul, so the motorcycle here, you can hold down the Q button if you're on mouse and keyboard, and essentially it allows you to pull your bike back and do pop a wheelie. You can still use a little bit of turning to it, but additionally, all vehicles have had the function for hitting the R key, and this allows you to do a little bunny hop. So with the motorcycle, you can combine that with the Papa Wheelie and get quite a bit of air and go over a lot of objects. So additionally, if you use the spacebar, you can also drift. So you can either hold it to kind of drift around a corner, you can tap it repeatedly. Now these functions also work for the Jeep and the car, so hitting R, I can do a little bunny hop with the Jeep. It kind of looks silly, but it's so much fun. And then again, hitting spacebar, you can drift around corners, and if you just kind of get a lot of speed and just hold it down, you can also do donuts, which is a lot of fun, especially if you're just ramming into enemies, and it looks hilarious when you're in a group. So for cosmetic changes, you can see here, if I put away my weapon, I will actually go into the like unguarded stance sooner, and it will stay that way unless you have either an idle animation or a like you pull out your weapon and do something. It's not going to just like go back to being like hunchback like it used to, which is really good for like making videos, but also just for hanging out. Now, one thing you'll notice here is that I'm not wearing the entire set of the armor for that passive idle animation. So that's another update that they didn't really talk about. So if you look in your cosmetics menu, I've done some testing, I've changed around different items and stuff to try to figure out what's happening, but your idle animation now appears to be linked to the chest piece and the legs. So if I were to change, say, into these two here, not affecting anything else. So this allows you, you know, a little more flexibility in your customization while still getting your idle animation, which I'm super happy for because in most cases I'm now going to be using the booster boots and my usual helmet and mask setup, so I get to have idle animations again, so that's great. I love it. Now, additionally, if you go into your cosmetics menu, another thing that they've added is if you're like me and you've gotten a bunch of different loot crates, one of the things that I was just kind of always upset about is after I put my mask and everything back on, I lost the idle animation, right? But now we have that back with just the chest and pants. But this expression menu has now added all of the legendary actions that are normally in idle animation are now in your emotes. So if you unlock a loot crate's cosmetic, your entire armor set, you also get an action, and it can be used with anything. So if I bring up my wheel in here, so now I'm in game, you can see I can use the animation from one of the old sets. This is a fantastic change. This is something I've been begging for a long time, and I guess they heard us. And the final part for cosmetics and appearances, there's now this appearance button. Whenever you click that there, you now have, you won't be able to really see it because of my mask, but you have presets now for your appearance. So you can click here and it goes in as though like you were at the mirror, and you can change all of your character's features, and then you can save that and essentially have presets in here so that you could, you know, you could have different cosmetic setups. And the really interesting thing is that you can actually set it up for male as well. So I can see what I would look like if I had the same cosmetics as male. So yeah, all these extra preset things, like they're going to be really, really useful for a lot of people that like to change their character around all the time. They said that they improved the appearance of the Harvester's Market and basically adjusted the plot sizes and how you can place the vending machines, but personally, I don't generally hang out in the Harvester's Market that often, so I don't know what exactly changed for these improvements. But with that, they did also say that they adjusted the distance from where you can build towards it. I mean, I'm pretty far away, and it just allows you to build right about there, so that's pretty far still. And on that note, you can also see how they've changed the like moving your territory and building and stuff, so the outline's a little bit different and kind of more visible as to what's going on. So you can see, like, whenever it's only part of the terrain is a problem, it'll actually show you the area that is having the issue. Now, for other construction related things, they've added the ability to build carpets underneath stuff, and then additionally, this one's pretty huge for PvP. I mean, it still affects PvE, but you can place turrets on the ground now, so you don't have to have them on a foundation. So this opens up a whole lot of things that you can do, and generally speaking, foundations are usually kind of just in the way, blocking line of sight on these things, so this is a huge improvement, and it works both for your turrets and like your Gatling cannon as well. For some social aspects, they have given you the ability to take your in-game camera stuff and you can put it straight into chat, warband chat or global chat or whatever you want to do. And then inside that chat, after it's basically checked it to be appropriate, you can click on it as anybody in that chat, and then you can see the picture. And to expand on that system, if you hold shift and left click on an item in your inventory, you can actually put that into the chat channel as well. So now when you're trying to sell stuff like, say, a calibration, you can send that into the chat, so you can actually show off what you're trying to sell. So you can use that for selling, trading, or just bragging about the things that you found. Now, they've added a bunch of stuff to guidance here, but I think the biggest one in here is if you go to your map and there's this little button on the left that looks like a radar, you can essentially take your different crops and ores and you can actually track them. So if we hit F on this one, we're now tracking the tungsten ore in my area, so it's like within a certain distance of where you're at. It'll actually show like the area where like there's higher amounts of it nearby you. And it also seems to, whenever you click one that's not really near you, it kind of shows you the closest ones. So like the Scarlet Calamimus is way down the river down there. Now, when looking to gather your resources, you'll notice that on my actual hotbar, there is no longer a gathering item. I believe this has probably been implemented to help with the mobile version where you have less hotbar items, but I can actually farm this with the items that are in my inventory rather than having to have it on the hotbar now. So you can chop wood and you can drill into ores at any time as long as it's in your inventory now. So that's everything in the update here. I will have a Lightforge loot crate video tomorrow, as I usually do. So if you found this video informative, there's going to be another one that YouTube recommends on the left, and my entire playlist will be on the right. And to send us off, let's check in with our local maniac.